welcome to this week's chat about all stuff health and fitness related. If you are watching, I would love it if you let me know and leave me a comment, even a thumbs up. Um, and as always, if you have any questions, please post them below or feel free to send me a DM because I would love to dive deeper pretty much on all these topics with you. So, what are we talking about today? We're talking about, do carbs make you fat? Okay, and you've probably either said this yourself or you've heard somebody say this. You're like, oh my God, I cannot stop eating bread, or I just look at a muffin and I gain weight. Or there's like, I don't know, like over the holiday season, you see family members and you're like, oh, I can't eat that. It's gonna go right to my hips. All these things. I don't know. I don't. I am lucky. I don't have a lot of that around me, but you might have that. You also might at your workplace or with your family members, people talking about how they've had so much success on keto, and they're like, it's a freaking religion, okay? They are obsessed with it, and that might get you thinking, like, oh my gosh, is that the only way I'm ever going to get results? So, we're going to dive in on these topics a little bit today. Again, I'm not here to diagnose or treat anybody, and looking into some of these things on your own. If you have questions, let me know. And this is going to be very general. Like when I help my clients, I'm asking them so many questions about not only about their workouts, their past like dieting and nutrition experiences, where they're currently at, like their stress. There's so many things. So there is a lot to consider when talking about your nutrition and what's right for you. Here's the thing, there's not a one size fits all. You are not a bad person for choosing to eat a certain way. I feel like in today's climate, we gotta like disclaimer everything, but I just want you to know that I want you to take what I'm saying as very general comments, and my goal is for you to dig a little bit deeper into your thoughts and yourself to maybe make some better decisions for yourself. So, what are we talking about today? Carbs making you fat, okay? And I feel like going keto and stuff like that, it's been very popular over the last couple of years. And I just let's freaking talk about that and some things that you can consider, okay? So, food groups as a whole, so carbohydrates, they are not inherently bad for you, okay? And a lot of the times when people say they need to give up carbs or they need to give up sugar, a lot of the times what they're eating is actually very high carb and high fat and a lot of times high sodium items. So it's like this trifecta of deliciousness that it gives you mouth pleasure, okay, and it gives your brain these dopamine hits, and that's why you want them all the time, okay? So I really want you to think about, is it truly carbohydrates that are doing this to you? And that being said, um, calories in versus calorie out is kind of the main thing you want to think about. Like, that's where I would start. If you're like, I need to change up my nutrition and I don't know how, I would, you can use just a general calculator online to see what your total daily energy expenditure is, and it'll give you what your baseline calories are. That being said, you're gonna do that and you're gonna shit your pants because you're gonna be like, there's no way I can eat that much in the day. And that's just showing you how much you might be under eating. You might also be overeating, right? Because that's again this whole thing. If you are eating more than your body is using, then that's when we do gain weight. So, but this is the thing. There's a lot of things to consider within this calories in versus calories out. And again, people treat nutrition like a freaking religion. Like, you're either all in, you like don't even look at comment sections on people on like vegan, carnivore, don't even look at those comment sections because it's horrendous. It's insane, okay? And I think I'm not even going to talk about that. So what I would do first is start tracking your food. And I know you're probably thinking, that's annoying. I don't want to do that. It's going to take up too much time. So here's the thing. If you don't know where you're at, how do you know where to change? Like, I've had success in myself and with my clients who have eaten moderate amount of carbohydrates, moderate amount of fat. Typically, everyone I work with needs to increase the amount of protein that they're eating. You don't have to do anything crazy. You just need to balance these macronutrients out. Like, I'll use when I help like vegans or vegetarians, typically they need to eat more carbohydrates to get an adequate amount of protein in their diets, especially when they're weight training. And so they typically eat higher carb amounts, but they don't gain weight just because they're eating more carbs, they're just eating less calories as a whole. So that would be kind of the first place I would start if you're really struggling with thinking you need to eliminate a whole food group. I would honestly look at it as a whole. How many calories are you eating and how many are you putting out? And be patient, okay? So here's the thing, just because you spent 5 days eating well, you it's not going to make a change within that short amount of time. That being said, you maybe have heard people who have gone keto or cut out carbohydrates, and they like, I lost 10 pounds in a week. And typically, especially with males, you'll find they've lost a lot more weight more quickly when going keto. And that's I'm not going to go into the difference between males and females and how our systems work, but it's unfortunate. Not unfortunate. Women just have a little bit harder time losing body fat than men. And the reason why you would see a drop in the scale faster when you're cutting out carbohydrates, it's water. Literally, the word carbohydrate, it's got that in the freaking word. It's helping you retain more water. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is why you would see that drop in the scale so quickly after a week or two of cutting them out. That being said, don't go and do that for a quick fix, okay? I think that's the thing, is when we start to like feel uncomfortable in our body and in our clothes, we immediately go to what can I restrict and what can I control? And then a week or two later, you can't keep up with it, so you can't do it. And now all of a sudden you've blamed carbohydrates for the reason why you can't lose weight. And that's not it. It's just you are literally going about it the wrong way, okay? Like, if that's a hard pill to swallow, I apologize, but really, this is what I want to get across with these videos, is all these kind of like mainstream diets and like things you hear and it's popular online, and it's usually bullshit. Like, it usually is. And I feel like sometimes my job is literally just being a myth buster and helping my clients get through these mindset blocks around stuff they've seen online or like so and so at work, whatever. Okay, so, oh, you guys can't see my cat, but she is sitting like right here, and she gets a little bit angry when I don't pay attention to her and I'm doing live videos. So she just like pow on my hand when I was, because I obviously hand talk a lot, and my camera likes to unfocus. Whatever. Okay, so another thing you want to consider. So first, start tracking your food and see what that looks like. But you also have to track results. You have to see, is what you're doing, is it working, and what kind of results are you getting? Okay, this camera is wacko right now. And we're back in. And see the results you're getting. You have to give it some time and consistency. So if you've watched some of my other videos, I always talk about get a freaking calendar out and just see how many days are you being consistent with what you're doing. So you can't expect to see either big changes or even to make an actual educated guess at what's going on if you're all over the place all the time. Like, if you're eating like variations of calories throughout the week, and then you're only stepping on the scale once a week, you're literally, when you step on the scale, it's a snapshot of that time. So like, maybe you did eat more carbs the night before or high sodium the night before, you're going to notice you've retained more water the next day. Okay. Oh man, we need a new camera, guys. Some other things you want to consider, if you do find that you're like, when I eat carbs, even when I'm exercising and I feel like I'm balancing my calories out well, and if you find, we're demonizing these carbs again, you have to take a look at what your stress levels are like. So when you're under a lot of stress, your body actually does not use carbohydrates as well when you are not under stress. So a lot of the times, and that could be a lot of different things. It could be like work stress. It could be that you've just been eating a lot of, processed, like literally like non-nutrient dense foods, and your body is stressed out. Maybe your sleep is really bad. There could be a lot of things there, and when your body's under stress, I don't want to say it doesn't matter your calories in versus calories out, but this is another layer that you do need to consider is um, if you are eating a bit more carbohydrates, maybe your body just isn't using them well for energy. And so managing your stress is going to be probably your number one priority at that point. And also making sure the types of workouts that you're doing are challenging enough so that your body can then what's the word I want to use, can then start to use those carbohydrates well. It's like retraining literally your cells to want to use the carbohydrates as fuel instead of not. I will go into more about that on another video. So if you have questions about that, please pop them below, because I would love to answer them. So managing your stress after you've been tracking your food for amount of time, seeing what the results are. If you're like, this still isn't working, what does your stress look like? And I do have another video on, I think it's like about health, but it really is about managing your stress. So that would be looking at things like, what's your resting heart rate? What are your sleep habits? What's your blood pressure at? And also your heart rate variability. Those are going to be key things, like tangible things you can look at to see, is your body stressed out? There's also other things like, are you irritable, not sleeping well? Other things, I like, oh, my skin looks a little shitty right now. Like things like that that just happen when you are stressed out. And so once you've kind of, I don't want to say balance your stress, but it's not like your body's constantly under stress. Increasing your carbohydrates over time is going to be way easier. And I know this is a bit confusing because I know the messaging online, a lot of the times it is just calories in, calories out. Like as long as you manage that, you're fine. But you truly do need to look at other aspects of your life to I don't want to say to eat them, but there is other things to consider. And sometimes the messaging is like, oh, it's okay that I eat a donut. And like it 100% is okay that you eat a donut. Although I will call out that it is less carbohydrates and more fat. But that's like literally a whole other chat. And sometimes it feels like, well, I'm allowed to do this. And you are 100% allowed to do whatever you want. I'm giving you this info so you can maybe consider, so you can honestly just stop being frustrated with trying to eat a certain way or always feeling like you have to cut something out. I really want you to start to practice some of these things, but be patient, right? And also think about this as like the long game, like have a long-term plan. So what I mean by that is, okay, so you've been tracking your calories, you started doing some exercise, and you're like, I'm working on my stress. So if I'm always stressed out, does that mean I can never eat carbs? And no, but you do have to get your body to adapt well to eating the carbohydrates, and that would be done through exercise, more specifically weight training. So if you look, I never want anyone to completely cut out carbs unless that's something you really want to do for some reason. And look at it this way, and this is why I'm saying it's a long game. Like you should have a plan. Like maybe short term, you're like, for 4 weeks I'm going to eliminate carbohydrates and see what happens. But the thing is, once you're done that, you need to gradually bring them back in. It's not like, cool, I'm done that, or you hit that point where you're like, fuck, I can't do this anymore. I'm just gonna like pile them all back in. And then of course you don't get results. You can't just expect your body to like, ooh, this is gonna work. So having a long-term plan and, like I said, tracking things and assessing the results and making changes as you go is so important. And like I said, using maybe a low carb as a tool for that period of time, but then what's the long-term plan there? So the last thing I'll leave you with, if you do truly find you are struggling with carbohydrates and you're like, I'm tired of giving them up all the time, what I would do, and you don't even have to track this in an app, I would just use hand measurements. If you want some guidelines for hand measurements, shoot me a message wherever that is on the screen. So try eating like starchy carbohydrates, like a literal serving, which is like a cupped hand. Uh, After your weight training workout, um, that would be where I would start. And if you find you are not sleeping that well, have another cupped hand as your dinner or like your last meal of the day. And then the other meal should be primarily proteins and fats. That's an easy way, like again, using hand measurements to kind of start somewhere. You'll start to feel better. It'll help you sleep better because by eating carbohydrates, it does raise your serotonin, which makes you feel sleepy. That's why we want to keep them towards the end of the day. And that's also why you probably don't want to eat a crap ton for breakfast unless your body's really good at using the carbs for energy. Um, okay, guys, I have been rambling on for 15 minutes about this, so I hope there was some nuggets that you can take away from this. If you have any questions or want some clarification on some things, please shoot me a message because I would love to help you out with this. And I look forward to talking to you guys next week. Bye.